Leadership podcast. So again, a video based communication. What happens here is, so let me tell you what leadership podcast does, and then I'll tell you what it is. So if you want to create a culture of belonging, alignment, and leadership influence in your teams, leaders can create podcast episodes on their vision, strategy, and operations that their team members can subscribe to and interact with their leaders. It's a great way to improve transparency and leadership connect in the organization. Now, imagine this, that guys, all of us in the learning field, we are constantly looking at influencers and people who have great content to deliver. And usually we subscribe to their podcast. And I know a lot of people use their driving time to listen to podcast of other people. Now, this is an idea which takes the technology of podcasting, so the design and technology of podcasting, and brings it inside the organization. So what can happen now is that people can subscribe to various leaders who are doing their own podcasts, and the podcasts are all work related. They're talking about challenges, they're talking about wins, they're talking about strategies, they're talking about vision. So all that done in a very, very transparent, straight from the heart way. And the world that we are moving in right now, that world has got fed up from corporate communication and stuff that just looks and feels so big organization and doesn't have a heart behind it. We as and you would know from a lot of these studies published and so many times referenced, that when people attrite from their companies and they leave their companies, they don't leave the company, they leave their manager. And typically what happens is the loyalty of a person inside the company is directly proportional to the connectedness he has with the leader, and how aligned and bought into is that person to the leader's vision. So leadership podcast is a great tool to create that culture of influence within the organizations. Leaders who use the podcasting technology now will have to walk their talk even more, and they, just by the nature of creating this content, again creating this ongoing content for their teams to consume, makes them more adept at communicating their vision and being more transparent. So it definitely increases the transparency inside the organization. Leadership podcast technology is available through a dedicated app that we create and enable in organizations. However, that said, the idea is the same, where leaders can keep creating episodes of what is happening in business and what is their message to their people, and people have a dedicated way to subscribe to these messages and respond to it and reference it and thank, comment on it, and ask leaders back some questions, so creating a more fair ground for people to communicate with each other.